welcome to TubeMix. My name is Ben, or Bubbles if you like. I'm here to grill Will on his thoughts on season 1 of Doctor Who. Of course, we've been doing a lot of interviews on this channel with us discussing Doctor Who, but we thought we'd turn the tables this time, and I would grill Will on what his thoughts were on the series instead of it to be more of a discussion. If you like this, please let us know. We might be able to continue this in the future. So, without further ado, are you ready to be grilled?
Yes, I am.
Bacon or sausage?
Very
good. So, we are going to start with, well, technically episode 0, with the Christmas special, The Church on Ruby Road. So my first question, Will, is overall thoughts. What were your overall thoughts of The Church on Ruby Road?
Not great. Although I could understand it being it was a very daft episode, but you could kind of let it slip because it's Christmas Day. People who are not generally Doctor Who fans, like if you have family round, can watch it. So I could kind of let it slip. But no, I thought it was, compared to the Christmas Invasion, compared to the End of Time, there'd be loads of Christmas specials that I'd rather watch than this one.
So one of the big marketing things for The Church on Ruby Road was the Goblin song.
Yes.
And surprise, surprise, we now have a Doctor and companion who have a bit of a sing-song with the Goblins. What do you think of the Goblin song and how that was incorporated into the episode?
I didn't like it. I didn't mind the style as genre. Now I'm very fussy when it comes to musical genres. I don't like Broadway jazz, hence can't stand cabaret or Chicago. But no, I didn't mind the genre. I didn't mind her voice generally. I mean, well, some of it made me groan, but I would have rather it didn't have the Goblin song because I thought the Doctor singing was a bit too far for me. So no, I hated it really.
What was your opinion? What was your first opinion on Miss Ruby Sunday?
Well, she's sort of like a sort of well, basic Clara 2.0, but in my view, Millie Gibson, and this is brutal, but she's a poor person's Jenna Coleman.
You heard it here first, folks. Put that on the headlines.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Ruby is a pound shop Clara Oswald. In fact, probably with less depth than Clara. So yeah.
Apologies to Millie Gibson if she is watching this.
I apologise. I have to be honest here. I can't hold back when it's that.
So my final question before we move into the season proper: where would you say the Church on Ruby Road ranks in terms of the other Doctor Who Christmas specials?
Well, for me, probably 2 out of 10.
2 out of 10.
Abysmal. Yeah, never want to see it again.
2 out of 10, and you don't want to see it again. He's a poet, guys, and he didn't know it. So we are moving.
So it wasn't. I didn't even. That was not intended. Literally.
Musical genius, right here on the channel.
Quite ironic, given I did like a musical number in the episode, and.
Yep. Well, it turns out maybe you should write the next musical number for Doctor Who. Who knows?
Oh god. Let's move.
So
on.
Moving on, we've got 2 episodes to talk about next because they are very much connected because they were released together as a premiere. That is the season opener, Space Babies, and The Devil's Cord. So I'm going to rope a lot of questions around both of these together.
Yeah, no, that's fine because they premiered together, so it makes sense to connect them. So yeah, go ahead.
So We're going to just go from general thoughts first. General thoughts of Space Babies. That
Childish,
reaction, that reaction kind of was a review in itself.
childish, idiotic, abysmal, puerile.
I I wish more people reviewed things in the way Will did. Short, precise, to the point. Don't need anything else.
Yeah, sorry, I watched this episode and I thought, I'm ashamed to be a Doctor Who fan. I was absolutely disgusted that this was a premiere episode. It's one thing having a Christmas special, which, you can get away with people having too much to drink or, ate too much turkey. But other meats are available. But, but, but yeah, I just was absolutely disgusted, disappointed, ashamed, and we've had daft episodes before. Going back to 2005, we had the two-part Aliens in London and World War Three, but that was saved because you had the great Penelope Wilton as Harriet Jones, which brought so much dramatic gravitas. But this absolutely has nothing saving it at all. You cannot salvage anything out of this episode. It's like if you put something in the rubbish tip and you think you're going to get something useful out of it. Nope, you're going to get absolutely zilch. Nope. Yeah.
So, in contrast to just Space Babies, what was your thoughts on episode 2, The Devil's Court?
I thought a villain around music was absolutely absurdity. Absurd to me. I just thought we were going down the paths of lunacy. Absolutely crazy. I think it's a bit too far. I think you're taking the piss if you have a villain that's based around music. I really think you do. Just because Jinx Monsoon can sing, I could eat 50 chocolate digestives, but if I did, I'd be absolutely. Just because I could doesn't mean I should. Well, for one reason, I'd be absolutely on the floor. But I just because you can do a musical episode doesn't mean you should. And I never liked the trope. I wish it would fucking stop. To be honest, I mean, the amount of. I'll give viewers a bit of a context. So in the 1990s, one of the first ones to do it was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Now, I've not seen the episode because I've not seen too much of Buffy, not really into it. But, and then for a while, it seems that was the only thing. And then towards the sort of last couple of years, you had Once Upon a Time, which I could kind of let slip. For those of you who don't know, it's about characters who they're fairy tale characters and they're cursed into a town called Storybrooke. So you could kind of make that kind of makes sense. There was also another one called Gallivant, which was sort of along the same lines as well, which again made sense because it was fairy tales. But when you have the likes of Star Trek, I mean, could you imagine having Top Hat and Tails and Canes dancing around the bridge? It's absolutely insanity. It makes my blood boil. I just wish this trope would stop. I don't know why. What I can't understand for the life of me why we get musical episodes. I'm lost for words, but yeah, not great. If Jinx had played the Rani, then I think Jinx would have been great. Now, I'm not a Drag Race fan. In fact, I didn't really know who Jinx Monsoon was until the casting was announced. But if Jinx had played the Rani, would have been fine. But Maestro, a villain around music. I mean, even if, say, let's pluck a name. Even if they cast Lin Manuel Miranda, I still wouldn't like a villain based around music. So, yeah, no, I just think it's too far. I think you're absolutely taking the mick. It descends into spoof territory to me. The minute you have a villain based around music, pack up and go home.
Okay, so we've got some really harsh words there on those are our first two
Sorry,
premiere
I know.
episodes.
I feel so strongly. I feel so strongly about that episode. And again, I'm a 2 out of 10. I never want to see it again.
So I have now, as the host, I get to play devil's advocate. So my question is, Will,
Yes.
if you could only watch one episode of Doctor Who again, and your only choices was Space Babies or The Devil's Cord, which one would you watch?
Oh shit. Probably reluctantly, I'd say this through gritted teeth. The Devil's Called, just because Space Babies is absolutely puerile. Yeah, it's just absolutely way too silly. Yeah.
So Space Babies, we keep coming back to being puerile, and that your opinion being puerile. The whole point of view, the whole point of view, the whole point. Well done, host. Don't lose your words this early. But
Beat
the whole
teeth
point
back
of
in.
the whole point of season one, with it being released as season one on Disney Plus, is a new push to get brand new viewers in. My
Yes.
question to you is: if you'd never seen Doctor Who before, and you saw those two episodes, would you become a Doctor Who fan?
No. No, absolutely not. No, I just think what the fuck is this rubbish? And yeah, right. Nope, not watching this again. See ya.
So, The Devil's Chord. There's a lot of people who like musicals. Now,
There is,
Doctor Who
yes.
does have a history of tipping its toes in other genres, like the early 2000s reboot of Doctor Who clearly had a few soap opera sort of genre playing within the plots.
Ah,
There's
well, yeah,
definitely
RTD. Yeah, he did bring that
yeah,
in. Yeah.
there's definitely been with the early Moffat era this sort of escapist fantasy vibe,
Yes.
going into heavy fantasy at times with like Robin Hood showing up. So we've seen Doctor Who cross genres before.
That is true.
Why
Very
not
valid.
music? If we can have Robin Hood, why not musical?
I just think the minute you have characters bursting into song, it's too far. It's too far in a science fiction show. I just, yes, Moffat's done fantasy, but think of it like a tortilla. So you've got your sort of filling, so like lettuce or cheese, but you could say that's sort of the fantasy wrapped around a little bit of sci-fi. So the main bit is sci-fi, and then the fantasy. Well, no, the fantasy is the outside, and then but the sci-fi is the main filling with a little bit of fantasy. So yeah.
Okay. We find out in The Devil's Chord that the Maestro, played by Jinx Monsoon, the main villain of this episode,
Just
is
called Maestro, not the Maestro. Just Maestro.
I apologize for getting it mixed up. But Maestro, I'm too used to the Master, guys. I'm too used to the Master
Okay, sorry.
and the Toy Maker.
Yeah.
And where I was going was actually, we find out in the episode that Maestro is the Toy Maker's
Daughter. Yes.
the child of the Toy Maker. Do you not think, with the fact that we had a musical segment with the Toy Maker in the 60th, that Maestro being a musical character makes sense?
It's not the same. The toy maker was just that was. I don't mind them lip syncing, although having said, I'm not really a fan of the Spice Girls either. But at least the character was sort of lip syncing. I don't mind that. No, it's when I don't want characters in a Doctor Who episode bursting into song. I absolutely don't. The minute you do that, it's. I think it would be fine if you did it as a spoof for comic relief or children in need, and you could let it slip. But the main show should absolutely not be doing that. I absolutely feel so strongly about that. That's the one genre it should stay away from very firmly.
Final
Keep the
question.
gates closed.
Fair enough. Strong words.
Yes,
Very strong words
I
that
know.
make me giggle every now and again, guys.
Viewers, as you know, yes, I'm a man of very strong words, and I'm quite blunt and to the point.
I've seen different opinions online, so I thought I'd close off talking about our premiere episodes with this question.
Yes.
Do you think The Devil's Cord would have made a better opening episode than Space Babies?
It would then Space Babies, but then I don't think it would be right as an opening episode either. To be honest, I don't know what the hell you would put as an opening episode. Yeah, I don't know, because for me there wasn't much quality there anyway. But of course we'll get to that. So, but yes, if you were to say which would make the best opening episode out of Space Babies and The Devil's Court, then The Devil's Court. But I don't think The Devil's Court would work as an opening episode. There's far too much going on. So yeah, I don't know. No, I don't think so.
Okay, so we move on to we're going to move it on then to quite a big episode, because a old writer has returned for episode 3. Stephen Moffat, who has written probably more Doctor Who than anyone else, decided, you know what, I want to write some more Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So we have Boom.
Yeah.
And your overall thoughts of episode 3, Boom.
Well, I thought Boom was one I really enjoyed. I thought it was a really good episode. I thought, finally we're getting back on track after 2 abysmal episodes, in my view. Something that is something that I will actually enjoy. So I was like, finally we got there. It's only taken till episode 3, but we've got there. And it was a really enjoyable episode. Ncuti gave a really good performance, and fans may know that the song that the Doctor was singing was the Skyboat song, and it was played. It's been in Doctor Who before. The second Doctor, Patrick Troughton, played it on his recorder. And in fact, the Master played it on his recorder, Sash Dhawan, in The Power of the Doctor as well. And it's a lovely reference to that. And it was a really, really enjoyable episode. I thought Verada See-Through, who was not playing the new companion, who we now know is Belinda, I thought she still gave a good performance. I thought it was a really good episode, and it also turned out, so that shot that you saw in the trailers of Ncuti opening his eyes, closing his eyes and then opening his eyes on that sort of orange background, we all thought, well, like many fans, that was going to be the shot post-regeneration, literally immediately after the regeneration, but it wasn't. It turned out to be a shot from Boom, so that was very interesting. Who the fuck calls their child Splice, though? That's a very weird name. I mean, splice is a word of cut. Hey, cut. Nice cut. It's bloody weird name. But although
We're
I have
talking
to
about
say
the guy
that,
who created Madame Cravarian, which isn't exactly a typical name either, if we're honest.
well, yeah, but I mean, if you called your child Cut, it'd be a bit of a weird name, wouldn't it?
Only unless you called your other child Action.
Well, yes, that is true. The child playing Splice, I thought she was okay. I mean, child actors can be a bit hit and miss. Some are great. Like Matthew Garber as Michael from Walt Disney's Mary Poppins. I think for me, it's probably and the likes of Hayley Mills as well. But yeah, no, I thought this episode was good. Um, like you've said to me, and do you know, I didn't notice, and I'm amazed I didn't notice this. There's a big continuity error. So the opening is this soldier, standing on this thing that's about to detonate, and yeah, well, he doesn't move, but it explodes, and when the doctor doesn't move, it doesn't explode. So how the hell you managed to cock that up is absolutely astounds me. But apart from that, very good episode, very very enjoyable, much more enjoyable. One I'd happily watch again. Yeah, absolutely.
So let's move to the twist, not at the end, but near the end. There's your reference for this video. Um, but we have the twist of Ruby Sunday getting shot in episode 3 of a 10-episode season. I've seen different reactions to this online. Some have been genuinely shocked, thinking Ruby.
Eight episode season, mate. Eight.
Yep. The episodes keep reducing. I keep making that error. Um, I'll tell you what. If I include both Christmas specials, technically that's 10.
Okay,
There you go.
okay. Oh yeah, okay.
I'll use that as my excuse, and I'm sticking with
Okay, all
it.
right, right, fine.
That's my excuse. I'm sticking with it.
Right,
I
okay.
know how to host. I know what I'm doing.
Right, fine.
That's the lie I'm telling myself. So in this 8-episode season, in episode 3, we have a fake out of Ruby Sunday dying.
Yeah.
I've seen reactions both shocked thinking Ruby is definitely dead, and I have seen some reactions where people are going, "Oh, come on, we know she's going to survive. What's the point in this?" I'm interested. What was your thoughts on the shock twist that Ruby gets shot?
Well, it's interesting because even though I know the episode was going to be called The Legend of Ruby Sunday, they could have just, I don't know, had Ruby in flashbacks. So you've got to you've got to sort of think of all the possibilities. So even if they killed Ruby off early, they could have her, in flashbacks or have her as hallucination. So I think for me it still shocked me. So I think the moment still worked, and you've got to remember, yes, there are nerds, like you and me that wait for the episode titles to be revealed, but my dad, for example, doesn't look at the episode titles, so for him, it would be a shock. Yeah, for him it would be a shock. So
fair enough. I think that is perfectly valid. It's one that to be fair, I've come to agree with, because I was one of the nerds going, "Oh, come on," when it aired. I will admit that, but no, I will admit you have shown me the error of my ways with that one. Yeah. I suppose the last thing that I'm not sure it rattled people as much, but I definitely saw discussions about it when the episode aired.
right.
Was the discussion about faith near the end, and because that affected some people. I didn't mind it. I'm asking you, Will. What did you think about it?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a really religious person, so it didn't offend me. But I thought they were pretty brave and pretty bold to do that. But yeah, no, yeah, I didn't have any problem with it because yeah, I'm not really a religious just person at all. So yeah, no problems from me. But I can see why other people would, who are religious. So
Fair enough. For the record, I am agnostic, and I agree with Will on that regard.
isn't it called an atheist?
No, agnostic means open to the concept of religion, but don't fully follow a doctrine myself.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Well, every day's a school day. I've never heard of that before.
So we move swiftly on to probably the most talked about episode of the last season. Everyone's still talking about episode 4, 73 yards. One
Oh,
hell
sorry.
of an experimental episode.
Yes.
So I wanted to see your overall thoughts of 73 yards.
Well, I'm not keen on Doctor Light episodes. To give viewers a bit of context, so Doctor Light episodes began in the 2006 series 2. The first one was Love and Monsters with Peter Kay. Hence the sort of disappointment in my voice, even as someone who loves Peter Kay and loves Doctor Who, but they don't mix. I like chocolate, I like gravy. I wouldn't have them together. That's probably the best way of describing it. Anyway, now Doctor Light episodes were done because to give the actor playing the Doctor, a bit of a break, and to also give the companion a bit of a break as well. So I can understand why they do them. But although in this case this was necessary because Ncuti was completing filming on Sex Education, the Netflix series, which I've never seen. Well, I've seen one clip of it, and it's bloody bizarre. Anyway,
Not your type of genre, I imagine.
yeah. So it was a necessary thing this time, and I thought 73 yards. Although I did groan though when it was supernatural. Oh, not again! Superstition, fantasy, fuck's sake. Yeah, I did groan at that. Having said that, a good performance. Well, I'll say a relatively good performance from Miller Gibson. She still fails to show much depth than Jenna Coleman for me, but yeah, on the whole, a pretty solid performance. I think people who used to watch the Twilight Zone, Alfred Hitchcock Presents Roald Dahl's Tales of the Unexpected, those classic horror anthology shows, I think would have probably really liked this. Now, as someone who's not seen Tales of the Unexpected, not seen the Twilight Zone, not seen Alfred Hitchcock Presents, so it wasn't really my cup of tea, but it was okay. I certainly preferred it to Turn Left, mostly because I'm not keen on Donna Noble. So yeah, in terms of at least I liked the companion. If I didn't like the companion, well, it would have been a bloody awkward watch. Yeah, but yeah, on the whole, good episode. But yeah, I could just do with the fantasy elements being dialed down a bit because it was really testing my patience.
So, this does take a sort of a good twist on science fiction by going a bit more supernatural than most of the Doctor Who episodes. It also changes up some things when it comes to, there's not even an opening title sequence.
Yes,
just
I know.
the episode begins.
What have you done? The opening titles, you need it to get the juices flowing, And
The
what have you done?
the second episode ever to do this, I think, because the first one was The Woman Who Fell to Earth, which didn't have an opening sequence either.
Yeah, I know, and I thought that was a big mistake as well, huge mistake. If people are making a cup of tea or something, they need the theme tune, they need the titles. You need the titles to get you excited. You need them to build up to build up to the main event. So yeah, big mistake not to have the titles.
The To the Doctor Who fandom, the probably one of the best episodes of Doctor Who ever, but most certainly the best Doctor Light episode. I think most people will say is Blink, that introduced the Weeping Angels. Out of interest, where does 73 yards to you scale in comparison to Blink?
Well, Blink tests my patience, even though I do like the Weeping Angels. David Tennant's 10th Doctor just on DVD messages really tests my patience, and I get fed up of it pretty quickly if the Doctor's not mainly in it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think 73. If it 73 yards was with the Weeping Angels as the villain, then I think that would be. My main problem with 73 yards is the supernatural stuff. I just don't want that in Doctor Who. Funnily enough, there's a show called Supernatural. If you want that, watch that. So yeah, I don't. If it had a better villain that was not supernatural, then heck, if it had the Trickster, I think 73 yards would have been much more improved. But I mean, Blink, I like the Weeping Angels, but then you've not got the Doctor that much in it, so that tests my patience. Turn Left, I don't like Donna, so a whole episode with just Donna is, well, pretty hell for me, really. Yeah, so at least I like the companion, so at least that sort of saves it, yeah.
Okay, and I suppose the final question we have to ask about this episode is the question everyone's still asking. Even now, I still see articles about this online. What did older Ruby say that made people run away? What do you personally think? She said.
Well, I don't know, I suppose sort of giving her the information to stop Roger Ap Gwilliam, the mad Prime Minister. So I would guess it'd be something like that. I do wish they would have resolved that in the finale. I think if that's not resolved, that episode seems a bit of a waste of time. I think if we don't know what she said, then it seems what was the whole point of watching that? I've just wasted my life, watching that hours that I'm never gonna get back. So yeah, I don't know though.
Okay, fair enough. That I personally, I don't think there's any right answer to that. I think I do like it. So that's one of the few fairy tale aesthetics I do quite like from that episode, that it doesn't answer that question. I like it when sometimes an episode can leave things open, because at the end of the day, it's more fun for us to discuss.
Well, that is true. That is very valid as well. Yeah.
So we move on to another Dr. Light episode, because this was recorded in the same block when Ncuti was busy doing sex education.
Yes.
We've got Dot and Bubble.
Yes, we have. Yes.
This episode, originally, a bit of trivia, I think was going to be in either series 5 or 6.
It was, yes, because Russell pitched it to Stephen Moffat and they didn't have the money and the resources to pull it off. So yeah, it's never saw the light of day until series 15 or since whatever you want to call it, bloody awkward Disney. Yeah.
Series 14, if we're going in numbers.
Oh, sorry, yeah, series 4, not series 15. Oh, for God's sake. Anyway, yeah.
Yes. I love how blunt Will is, guys. This is why this is an absolute pleasure to host this.
I know. I'm sorry. I mean, there's as you can tell. I mean, I was positive about Boom, but as you'll hear later in this video, it's a real struggle to be positive about this series. It's a real struggle. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. Let's continue.
Dot and Bubble that sees a new face for Doctor Who. Yet again, we talked about Blink before. This is the first time, I think, since Blink, where we've had a main character who is
Yes.
not the Doctor nor the companion.
No.
We have Lindy, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes, Lindy Pepperbean. Yeah.
And they are in a bubble known as Fine Time.
Yes.
And it's very socially relevant to today. And so, once again, a bit like 73 Yards, this has caused an awful lot of discussion about the world we live in. What is your opinion on Dot and Bubble? Apart from the coincidence that it's got my nickname in it.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, obviously that's yeah, that's quite funny. But well, having an unlikable protagonist was really testing my patience. I don't mind having an unlikable antagonist because villain, but to have a main character really tested my patience, and I almost thought I was going to switch off because yeah, I thought this was just going to absolutely just drive me insane if I kept watching it. But I stuck through it, and yeah, I again, seeing the Doctor and Ruby just on screens, again for the same reason as Blink, it was such a slog to sit through, such a slog. Yeah, it was a struggle, and yeah, not great to be honest. Apart from the final scene, which we'll talk about. I mean, the final scene I'd happily watch again. The rest of it, no, probably not.
So, the what do you think overall of that big twist? That twist at the end reference. The what do you think of that twist at the end? That it's not actually the slug monsters who are the monsters of that episode.
Oh, it's the human race. Well, I think that's very true. If you look at the state of the world today, then humans are often, especially, I'm a Pixar fan. Sorry to just change things up, but the Disney Pixar 2008 film Wall-E, explores the impact of what the human race has done to the world, and they're the kind of bad guys. And yeah, this is the same for this, so I thought that was quite good. And Shooty's speech is absolutely fantastic. That was the first thing he shot. That was the first proper scene he shot for the series. So, that blows my mind. But yeah, I would watch that scene time and time again because often I don't watch full Doctor Who episodes, but I do like to watch little clips and little scenes now and again. So I think I would watch that. The rest of it, as with many of this series, no. Add to the fact there's a Doctor Light and Companion Light, and add to the fact it's an unlikable protagonist. At least in Blink, Kerry Mulligan's Sally Sparrow, she's pretty likable, so you could at least get behind that. But an unlikable protagonist, I don't think it works. Personally, I think keep it to a villain. I think not the front and center main character, because for me at least it was just a struggle.
Fair enough. That is absolutely valid. It is hard to connect to someone who is meant to be unlikable. I will say, I think the idea that you don't like them from the start is kind of the point, mainly because of that twist.
Oh yes,
Um,
yes, of course. And had she been the villain but not the protagonist, yeah, I would. If she'd been something like I don't know, the mayor of Fine Time, and we have the Doctor mainly in it, then yes, I think I would accept it a bit more. So yeah.
um, yeah, I think it was a neat idea to try and do because it is one of the first times we've had that where it's been an unlikable lead, and I think
Yeah,
it's worth
I hope
trialing.
they don't do it again. You've done it now. There's no need to do it again.
So we move on to our penultimate story, penultimate episode, but
Well, no,
penultimate story.
penultimate episode technically is the Legend of Ruby Sunday.
Yeah. So it is the penultimate story, because we have a two-parter in a moment.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
But
fair,
it
yeah.
is the penultimate story, and that is Rogue.
Yes.
Now, this kind of took the Doctor
The
Who
internet
community
by
by
storm,
storm.
yeah.
I think it's this episode which, for better or worse, is the reason why this season will be remembered.
Oh, hang on,
And
sorry.
we'll get to that in a moment.
Can I rate Dot and Bubble? Sorry. Can I
Even?
rate Dot and Bubble? Because, yeah, I've not done my rating for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I apologize. Well, I thought that was covered in the beginning, but absolutely, please
Yeah,
rate.
no, that's fine. I will probably 3 out of 10. Yeah, 3 out of 10.
Oh wait, it gets a smidge above the finale. That's pretty good for the season.
Smidge, well, it saves it only because of Shooty's ending scene, and that saves it. But
I
only
mean
because
that ending scene is fantastic.
it is great, yeah.
Round of applause moment, if there ever is one in the season.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we do now move to Rogue. Sorry, everyone, for the departure there.
Yeah.
Early departure from the station. Whoops.
Yep.
We are now going to Rogue. Yes, and this is, like I said, for better or worse, this is definitely the episode that this season will be remembered for.
Yes.
And we'll get to the reason why in a moment.
Yes.
But before we get to the thing that happens right near the end of the episode, I think it's better first that Will gives us his overview of the episode before we get into the nitty-gritty.
Well, if you like Bridgerton, you'll like this episode. I don't, so, well, yeah, it was always going to be a struggle, this one. I don't really like period dramas like Jane Austen. I also didn't like the villains were cosplaying. I thought that was a little bit too daft. It was sort of like fuck you to the people who cosplay at conventions, to be honest. Yeah, I just thought it was just too daft, really. So yeah, not great.
So my first question is, because this is quite a point of contention among some fans, the episode's namesake is the character who joins in this episode, Rogue.
Yeah, played by
who's
Jonathan
very similar.
Yeah.
Some people are finding him very similar to one character called Captain Jack Harkness. What do you think of Rogue?
He's a pound shop Captain Jack Harkness. Every time I saw him, I was just thinking of Captain Jack. It's meant to be Captain Jack Harkness. I just couldn't get Jack out of my head. When watching, when he came on screen. So, I thought it was a distraction. To be honest, it was like a very poor Captain Jack Harkness.
Poor man's cosplay of Captain Jack, could you say?
Yes.
Oh, that took a minute.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, sorry.
Slow burn that one. Yes, I have seen that around quite a lot, and it is also very clear that Rogue is returning. What do you think about the fact that we're returning to Rogue?
Well, I don't think it is very clear. We've not had, until it's officially confirmed, treated as a pinch of salt. I don't think necessarily he is returning. He probably will return, but I don't think it's inevitable. So, time will tell. Time will tell.
That is a valid point. But now to the big one. The fact that Rogue is ultimately a romance story between the Doctor and Rogue. The first proper romance we've seen more or less since River Song, I would argue.
Yeah.
We had the Doctor and Yasmin a little bit in the last season, but that was only really near the end. So this is the first sort of full romance we've seen since River Song. What was your thoughts on the Doctor and Rogue?
Well, I I've never liked the idea of the Doctor having romance. So it doesn't matter whether it's a man or a woman or
An
whatever.
alien.
It sorry, I'll rephrase it. It doesn't matter what sex they are. There you go. But yeah, I'm in the classic series. There's a bit of a rule, no hanky panky in the TARDIS, and I completely agree. I don't mind characters. Well, I say I don't mind. I could be more accepting if characters had romance, like the companions. But to me, stay away from romance for the Doctor. I never liked Rose's romance with the 10th Doctor. I I don't like the girl in the fireplace. I mean, the Doctor falling in love with Madame Pompadour is pretty ridiculous, to be honest. Yeah, I'm just not a fan of romance, romance at all. And yeah, Rogue is just the same. The only one that really worked for me is River Song because, they keep meeting in the wrong order and River's sort of half Time Lord as well. So again that works, but yeah, no, it doesn't work for me, and I just wish we would stop with this romance with the Doctor. It never happened in the classic series. I guess it's happened in the modern series to make it more relatable, I guess. Because obviously, people do have romance. I mean, I personally have no romance in my soul, but yeah, but yeah, not a fan of romance anyway, apart from River Song, really. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Yeah.
So finally, your rating for Rogue.
Well, as someone who doesn't like Bridgerton, who doesn't like costume dramas, I thought the villains were pretty. Sounded something like out of a spoof, quite frankly. 2 out of 10.
The same rating as Space Babies. We have gone back down
Yeah,
from some
the
3
same
hours of movie.
rating as Space Baby. It's the same rating as The Devil's Called. And, yeah. Oh, actually, sorry, I forgot to give my rating of Boom. Sorry, to go back a bit here. We're going a bit all over the place, but I suppose that's appropriate for Doctor Who. Anyway, for Boom, 7 out of 10, yeah.
So we went from 7 and we've gone all the way back to 2 in
Yes,
our penultimate story as we go into the 2-part finale.
yes,
The Legend of Ruby Sunday
yep.
and
Empire of Death,
the Empire of Death.
yeah.
Um, so we're going to look at these one at a time because
Okay.
definitely the internet was far more talkative about one part than the other.
Oh, well, yes, I mean, I don't think from what I've seen, I don't think people had problems with The Legend of Ruby Sunday, and I thought for the most part 1 was a really strong episode. So yeah.
Well, you may as well continue. You've started off.
Oh
Give
well,
us your
yes.
overview of The Legend of Ruby
Oh
Sunday.
yeah, and in the words of Mastermind, I've started, so I've finished. One thing I wasn't so keen on, and the downside of The Legend of Ruby Sunday was how abrupt. I would have liked a scene where the Doctor and Ruby and the TARDIS, right, we're going to unit, signifying that something is wrong. It was just far too abrupt, seeing even though that shot of the TARDIS flying, and going into Unit HQ and the line docked on the bridge, I did quite like. Yeah, I just thought it could have done with being a bit more less abrupt, but otherwise a very good episode. Loved Lenny Rush as Morris Gibbons. I have to say I preferred him to Ruth Madeley. I mean, Lenny Rush's humour. Ruth Madeley doesn't really add anything really for me. I mean, she's not dull, but she's not funny either. I don't know how you would describe her. Yeah, really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very strong part. First part, yeah.
What we may as well go straight into it because my second question was going to be about Ruth Madeley being replaced, and you've gone one step ahead of me. So well done. Have you been reading my notes? So we're going to move to the we're going to be moving more or less into two questions, which are about the ending of the episode, I think.
Yes.
First of all, the pulling the rug from under you, making you think that Susan was returning. Did you think Susan was going to return?
Well, it's interesting. I thought it was pretty random. I know the Doctor mentioned her in the Devil's Cord, and that made sense because of 1963. But the fact this, although I suppose the way that the anagram spelled TARDIS and the fact that she was called Sue maybe made me think, okay, yeah, this is pretty valid. Did I think she was going to be Susan Foreman, the Doctor's granddaughter? I'm not sure. I think it would have been very interesting that, it turned out that, I don't know, Susan had... well, I did think Susan was going to be there, but, she'd be used the Chameleon Arch, which for people who don't know is a sort of fob watch which sort of converts the Time Lord's biology to human. So I thought that would have been the case, but no, it wasn't. No.
So also actually there was a question I missed before we go into the final conversation.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
There is a returning companion which I'm going to talk about it here because she doesn't have as much to do in part 2. So we do have a returning companion here. We have from the 60th anniversary, and indeed also the 6th Doctor and 7th Doctor's era, we have Melanie Bush, played by Bonnie Langford, who is returning here in this episode, in this finale.
Yeah.
What do you think of the new and improved Mel?
Well, I have to say, when Bonnie was first officially confirmed as return, I was like, why Mel? I'm not a fan of Mel at all. I always think Bonnie Langford's come across as a nice person. She's always very bubbly. But I've never liked the character of Melanie Bush. But no, I think she's really shining now. And she gave some really good performances for me. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, for those of you out there who did also enjoy Melanie Bush in both the 60th and now here in the finale of season 1, Russell is basically using a template made by Big Finish Productions, and using sort of their version of Mel, which expanded from the old classic series.
80s, yeah.
So
80s Mel, yeah.
if you liked this version, definitely check out Big Finish Productions, because you'll still like Mel there if you like her here, if I'm honest.
Right, yeah.
Finally, the big reveal.
Yes, so it is revealed that, and I've got to say, well done to fans who thought that Sue Tech was saying that Sue Tech was the return of Sue Tech, voiced by Gabriel Wolfe, and I thought, I don't know, Sue Tech seems a bit of an obscure villain. I mean, the Master made sense because the face of both said, "You are not alone." So, that made sense, but Sutek was a really random one. But no, credit to you. If you put your bets on Sutek, then you'd be like, "Yep, I've got my money here." So credit to you all if you put your bets on that. I mean, pretty amazing to see Sutek back in 92. Well, I think it was 91 when he recorded it. Gabriel Wolfe, who voiced Sutek in his first appearance in Pyramids of Mars, and he also voiced the Beast, funnily enough, in the Saturn Pit and the Impossible Planet, isn't it? The Impossible Planet.
Yep.
Yeah, that was it. I couldn't remember the second part. And let me tell you, for a 91-year-old man, Gabriel's still got. He's not lost his voice. He's still got so much in him, and yeah, good performance.
Still sounds deliciously.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Well, it sounds good. I wouldn't say delicious. Don't overdo it.
so the so going into the Empire of Death, the stakes are raised really quickly.
Yes.
It turns out that Sutek's dust of death goes across the universe
Mm.
instantly.
Yes.
What was your thoughts literally in the opening minutes of Empire of Death?
Well,
Go
I was.
expanding so quickly.
Yeah. Well, I was. Well, I suppose Sutek is the god of death, so he's a villain that very quickly can cause chaos. By sort of spreading his sands. And yeah, no, I thought first part, oh great, this is a great second part. It's continuing the good work left off from the Legend of Ruby Sunday. So, yeah.
And then we get a reveal pretty early on in the episode.
Yes.
The idea that Sutek has been attached to the TARDIS
Ever since Pyramids of Mars, yeah. So when
ever
the
since
Doctor thought he
Pyramids of Mars.
imprisoned him, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of that as an idea?
Uh, well, I suppose it's a good idea, but the thing is, you watch all those episodes since then, and yeah, I don't know. It is a bit weird to think that Sutek was there all that time, while so much has gone on. Gallifrey has been frozen and destroyed again. I just wish they'd make the bloody mind up. Anyway, sorry, Gallifrey is one subject that does drive me up the bend. Round the bend, even. Round the bend, yeah. Round the bend.
Up the bend. Up the bend.
Yeah, so I always get those phrases mixed up. Round the bend, up the wall. There we go. Finally got there. Anyway, yeah, so that was a bit weird, but yeah, interesting.
Now, it was raised that here in the middle, it was raised there was a continuity error between something called Tales of the TARDIS. Now, if you're here from America watching this, you're not going to know. You may not know what that is if you're a Whovian, but if you're not a Whovian and you're wondering what we're on about, here in the UK on BBC iPlayer, we got episodes of older episodes of Doctor Who made into a feature-length movie style, with returning Doctors doing sort of a mini-sode cut between
sort of do newly shot bits, yeah.
So we have a scene where in Tales of the TARDIS, where in the mini-soda section, where the Doctor introduces Ruby to Sutek and shows her an image of the Fourth Doctor and Sarah Jane.
Yeah.
And then in the main episode, which is taking place after that mini-sode, the Fourth Doctor and Sarah Jane appear on a screen, and Ruby asks, "Who's that?" What is your opinion on that? Because the internet was talking about that for quite some time.
Well, I don't know. It depends when the mini-sode was recorded, though. Maybe they... I guess if it was shot later than that, the mini-sode, then... Well, yeah, I don't know. I suppose, yeah, it's a funny one. I mean, really, that scene... I think for Pyramids of Mars, I think they should have left the no new shots of the Doctor and Ruby, and then that shot of them watching Suter introduce that should have been in the main episode. I think that would have made much more sense. I think, and just have Pyramids of Mars. Yes, it's cut down, and with new visual effects, but I think for that Tales of the TARDIS, just have that, and then but then I suppose for people to get them up to speed, new viewers, then to have a scene with the Doctor and Ruby, and yeah, I don't know whether they've just realised they made a continuity error or not.
Fair enough. I think most people are, through what I've read online and seen on here on YouTube.
Yeah.
I think most people are in agreement with you,
Yes.
and that it may have been better to just like the Daleks in color, just release the Pyramids of Mars on its own, and maybe put the mini-sode section in the episode itself.
Yes.
I've definitely seen that rattling around, and I think a lot of people agree with you.
Yeah.
I do think it's definitely an interesting topic, because definitely putting a Tales of the TARDIS, which was originally outside of the main series, placing one of them in continuity was definitely an interesting idea.
Yes.
Would you be interested in seeing more of that going into the next season? More Tales of the TARDIS, bridging gaps between episodes?
Well, it depends, I suppose. I mean, they did it because of the 60th, and because, they were concerned with the specials being, 14th Doctor and Donna in that era, that they weren't doing enough to represent classic Doctor. So I'm not really sure they're needed. Only thing I suggest, if they were to do one, if they have a classic villain in the finale again, then obviously, yeah, they might need to do it. But otherwise, no, I don't know. To be honest, I don't really want to see the Doctors older, really. Yeah, I also I find the idea of a memory TARDIS a little bit gimmicky. Something like should be in a spoof or a fan film. No offense, I do like Dynamic Works 2012. aka Luke Newman. I love his fan film series. But yeah, it's a memory TARDIS. I think would be good for like a children needs special. But it is a bit gimmicky for the main show, really. And I did raise my eyebrows them using that in the finale. Yeah.
Do you think because the TARDIS is in the finale that maybe something like Tales of the TARDIS should have been broadcast on BBC Plus as well? Because at the minute it's only on BBC iPlayer, which is also interesting.
On BBC One, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure where you would put it though, because on the schedule, you've got the one show, and then you've got soaps and stuff. So I'm not really sure where you'd put it on a weeknight. Well, maybe a sort
of. Forgive me, I think there's a bit of confusion. Because Tales of the TARDIS is not on Disney Plus, which is where
sorry, I thought you said BBC Plus. Sorry.
Yeah, so Disney Plus. Disney Plus,
okay.
it is around the world is where it's now been broadcast. And Tales of the TARDIS at the minute is not on there.
We got there in the end. Yeah, sorry, you utterly confused me.
No worries. Will, edit point.
Yeah.
So on Disney Plus. For those of you laughing, there's been an edit cut here. You will hardly notice. So on Disney Plus, Tales of the TARDIS is not currently broadcast on Disney Plus. So with the fact that the memory TARDIS is in the finale, do you think that should have been uploaded to Disney Plus as well?
Well, it all comes down to licensing as well. Although I don't quite understand if BBC iPlayer can have the classic series in here in the UK, why not on Disney Plus as well? Because if they did, we wouldn't be having this season 1 bollocks, but yeah, I guess it's just down to licensing. So, and Tales of the TARDIS on Disney Plus, yeah, I mean it'd be great, but as ever, it's down to licensing.
So, Will, ultimately, I've got one last question, which is basically your overall opinion on the conclusion of the episode, there's two questions actually on this one.
Right, yeah.
One is the resolution of resurrecting everyone.
Yes.
I rocked death to death, and that makes life. Can you explain to me that one?
Well, no, that sort of lost me because if you bring death to death, you just bring, well, more death. Yeah, I don't. I just thought it was Russell trying to be cool and thinking of a really epic line that didn't really make sense at all. So yeah, just absolute bullshit to be absolute bollocks.
And then finally, the conclusion for Ruby Sunday. Her
Well,
mum was nothing special. She was just
yes,
an average person.
I
Your thoughts
suppose
on the ending?
I suppose it's well on one side of me says that it's good that she's no one special, and I suppose that's more relatable to people. On the other hand, to make this big mystery and it just to not turn out to be anything seems a bit of a waste of time. Why have we sat through this whole series for nothing effectively? Uh, so yeah, I don't know. I can't quite decide. There's two sides of me. So yeah, I don't know on that one. I can see both points of view.
And now to wrap it up, we wrap up with Ruby saying goodbye to the Doctor. Um, your final before we go into your rating,
Yes.
it was about. I want to say it was about the time the Devil's Cord came out.
Yes.
If I'm wrong on the dates, correct me with a label here on the screen. But I think it was not long after the Devil's Cord. Everywhere on social media, if you are subscribed to Doctor Who emails, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
There was an image of Ncuti Gatwa with Millie Gibson and the new companion starting in
Varada see
season
through.
two.
Yep. Yep.
Rather see through. Thank you. They are with them both sitting at a table with a big headline saying they're back
Yes.
for season two.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the whole ending is a very emotional goodbye, setting out that Ruby is leaving forever. Your thoughts on, after very early in the season, putting that picture everywhere, they still went with that ending?
Well, I mean, for me, especially because we only had 8 episodes and Ncuti was away, not in, episodes 4 and 5. I think I've got that right, yes. Let me just do a quick count. Space Babies 1, Devil's Call 2, Boom 3. Yeah, 73
Yep,
yards for Dalton Bubble 5. That's right, there we go. Yeah, so I think, given that we didn't get to see it's been a very short season, it doesn't feel like we got to know them that very much. That goodbye scene felt absolutely hollow. There's just absolutely no emotion to it at all. Not one little tear, because it's absolutely pointless. Yeah, I just think, and also Ruby tearing up saying, "I love you." Oh, for fuck's sake! Why are you putting that in? Why are you putting that in? Fools.
On a devil's advocate of that, you can love your friends, and if you do love your friends, it's not terrible to say you love them every now and again.
Okay, yeah. That is true. Yeah.
We like being emotionally open on this channel.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Or at least I try to remind you.
Okay. Yes. Oh, sorry.
So your ratings, finally, your ratings for The Legend of Ruby Sunday.
Right. Well, I'm gonna give that 7 out of 10. So yeah, good episode.
And your rating for The Empire of Death.
Uh, 2.5 out of 10.
We were going so well and so far. So,
Yeah, I know. Sorry, just this series has mostly been shit, to be honest. I never want to see most of it again. Just throw it in the incinerator, most of it, and be done with it. Goodbye.
well, considering my next question was, what was your overall thoughts on season one? You've also been reading my notes again. I see. Great minds think alike.
Yep, exactly.
But I think as a whole, the final question, ultimately, your final rating, what would you rate season one out of 10? Everything from the Church on Ruby Road to Empire of Death. What is your rating of the entire season?
God, overall the season, this is gonna be difficult. 1 out of 10.
Wow, 1 out of 10.
Yeah, mostly
Um,
there were a few bits that you could salvage, but mostly absolutely shit. Absolutely fucking shit. Yeah.
well, that concludes. That very much concludes our talk here with that quite blunt statement. um, as always, it's a pleasure here, Will. I hope you liked this as a new format for the show. We thought we'd do this a little bit differently because, a bit like the 60th, I was actually a lot more positive on season one than most people like Will here. I think overall, I think I'll give it a good, about 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
overall new season.
It's
So
very far. It's very far away from that for me. Yeah.
yeah, so we thought it would be much fairer if I go, okay, the instead of it being a debate, we see enough of those on the internet these days.
Yeah.
Let's make it me the host and grill Will on what he thought of the season, and we'll be back again for the Christmas special.
Yes.
You'll be seeing me again, probably grilling Will again.
Yep. In fact,
We'll be there for joy to the
do you
world.
want to ask me my thoughts on the Joy to the World before we go?
Let's tell you what. Let's end it on there, Will, and then we'll wrap up.
Okay, right, yes. So, well, Joy to the World. Well, it remains to be seen. We have a Silurian back, which is not that. Oh, shit! Do you actually know that? Do you? Have I given you spoilers that you don't know?
Edit point, Will. I've seen the trailer. It's okay. Right, action.
Okay, right. Sorry. We have Nicola Coughlan, best known for Derry Girls and Bridgerton. So ironically, yeah, someone who was in Bridgerton wasn't in Rogue. So yeah, which was about as Bridgerton as.
Ironic, really.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what. I don't know if you're familiar with Nicola Coughlan as an actress. Have you seen her in that many things?
I've seen bits and pieces of Bridgerton, and so I've probably seen her without it staying in my brain.
Have you seen anything of Derry Girls? I've seen very bits and pieces of it.
No, I've not seen anything of that.
I've
heard it.
She's probably as Irish as you could get, really, in terms of accent. So.
Well, she's going to be very entertaining, then.
Yep. Yeah, and obviously Stephen Moffat is writing it because Russell was pretty busy, and so yeah, he asked Moffat if he could handle the Christmas special. And I don't know if you saw the clip that because Doctor Who Unleashed, rather than giving it a preview trailer of the Christmas special, it gave you a preview of the Unleashed for Christmas, which was quite interesting. And Stephen Moffat said, "You like monsters? We got monsters. If you like pretty things, we've got pretty things." Which did me raising my eyebrows a bit for, what the fuck have you said there?
Oh, Moffat,
Yeah,
you are just basically the Whovian granddad at this point.
That's a bit weird for a Doctor Who episode. Even for Moffat, sounds like. Right. Okay. Yeah, and and he said, "Beat that casualty." It's Doctor fucking Who. Yeah, oh no, it's Doctor Bloody Who. Yeah, that was it. And
That
so yeah, I mean, it remains to be seen what the joy to the world. I hope it's less silly than the church on Ruby Road. There we go. Yeah, I hope it's less silly than that. Um, and I've got high hopes for this episode. And if it's not, well, it's probably going to be a sign that it's got a long way to go to really impress me. Yeah, but we'll see. Time will tell.
we'll see. Once again, if you liked this new format, this is we're trialing this as something a bit new. So do let us know if you want to see more of this, and we will see you when discussing
Piety back in.
discussing. Hey, that's a good word. Discussing the next Christmas special, Joy to the World. We'll see
Yeah.
you again soon. Please remember to subscribe here to TubeMix, and we will see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye, everyone.